Thank you so much for your patience. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if you got my announcement on the page, I had to push our scheduled meeting to 3 o'clock today instead of 12:30. And I had a little family urgent situation. Everyone's healthy, everyone's okay. But I just wanted you to know that I appreciate you and for your patience of changing the time. And I recognize that some of you may not be able to be here because of it. And also, you're going to get the sweaty, nasty version of me, and that is okay. um, Due to certain circumstances, I felt like it was crucial to talk about something, kind of coach through a sort of mindset shift here. And I believe that sometimes we feel like we have certain parts of ourselves that we dislike, or parts that make us feel icky. And we try to get rid of it, extenuate, like just kill it off, like it's a bacteria or a virus. And what I'm talking about is the feelings of shame, anxiety, anger, disgust, envy, jealousy, you name it. It goes on and on and on, right? But the thing is, when we recognize that these are personalities of ours, they are a part of who we are, then we are able to then have more self-compassion, more self-forgiveness. And you'll see in the second module, we talk about the meaning and the art of self-forgiveness and what does that mean. And it's like if you were talking to another version of yourself, like if you're sitting across the table with you, what would you say to yourself? Just like if you're talking to a girlfriend who's going through a really hard time, what would you say to her? You're going to want to lift them up. You're going to want to let them know that they're doing the best that they can. And it is okay to feel the way you're feeling and to be struggling. And sorry, put do not disturb on here. And when we feel these shadow parts of ourselves, the parts that we feel like is hidden in secrecy, and we don't want others to see these parts of ourselves, but when we actually sit in it and shed light on it, they may not seem so big and scary in the first place. There may be an extension of us, but really what they're trying to tell us, they have a message. It is a signal that something is up. Let's take anxiety for an instance, okay? Anxiety is an extremely intelligent signal. It is a predictor of what may happen in the future. And you feel uncomfortable in anxiety because it's trying to tell you, hey, look out for this because this might happen to you like it did in the past. It is trying to protect you, trying to reassure you. But the thing is, anxiety uses the tool of fear. It's the fear of something happening. You won't hear anxiety saying, hey, feel joy that something's coming up. That is a different part of our personalities. That is not how it will use your attention. Because if anxiety pulls out the joy card on you, you're going to feel good. You're not going to worry about what could be coming up next. You're going to be thinking, what could be coming up next with fear and uncertainty. And that will make you feel uncomfortable. But the discomfort is there on purpose. Discomfort is going to help you take action to do something about it or do something differently. Now, at this point, you should know what a survival loop is. So you have your cycle of your emotional loop, and then tied in and comes into the habitual loop. And so when we are feeling discomfort, instead of finding stillness and being present, we will latch on to some sort of habit or something that gives us instant gratification to ease that discomfort. And anxiety is like, okay, cool, I feel a little better, but the problem's still there. Like the thing is still there. So I'm going to circle back. And you didn't listen this time. Ooh, okay, I feel a little better from whatever habit you did for temporary relief, but then I'm going to circle back to it. And the thing is, it will get louder and louder and louder until you say, I can't take this anymore. And anxiety is like, finally, are you going to listen to me now? Do you see that pattern? So, the work that we're doing here in Rise Above Burnout is intentional. So, when you watch the video, there is a resource attached to it for most of them, not all of them. And this resource is for you to unravel these patterns so you can see, I didn't see this before, but now I do. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You see what I'm doing here? There's a method to this madness. But when you start to unravel the next stage, the next lesson, there'll be more insight. And then the transformation comes with the pause, the reflection, which is attached under resources. And then you'll notice that every step, you'll either see a pattern, a repeating thing that keeps coming up. And that is what needs to be where you need to focus your attention. Because that is your body trying to tell you, hey, like you wrote that down a couple, few, maybe a dozen times for a reason. Now let's get curious about it. Now, this doesn't mean it has to be perfect. It does, and I know I repeat this often in the program, but I love to remind you because even I need to remind myself or hear it often from other personal development, coaching realm world. Even I need to hear this, is that it doesn't have to be perfect. Not everything needs to be fixed all at once. You don't have to pity or judge or, like I said, try to fix everything in that very moment. But when you bring curiosity, what happens? Going back to our lesson about the RAS, the reticular activating system, you are telling your brain what is now important to you. And it's going to keep showing you the things that you need to see. So if you're seeing a pattern in your resources, in your reflection sheets, now your brain's going to say, light bulb goes off, and you're going to recognize it. And then now is the opportunity for the transformation piece, because you're going to say, what am I going to do differently next time? And then when you put that moment, when you put aside that moment of reflection to say, what am I going to be doing differently? You're rewiring your brain. You're changing how you're going to show up in those difficult situations. I'll give you an example. So I was in a place where unworthiness was my biggest limited belief. I didn't think I was good enough for anything or anyone, and it showed up all over the place. But I didn't know unworthiness was my thing. I just thought that was normal because it's in my family system, and I saw it in a lot of other people in my family, and I just thought that's just how we are. It's part of my personality. But when I started to change that belief by going through coaching and doing personal development, there was this one method that I've done with a coach, and it was the power of movement. So you would look at my hand and we would move it back and forth, and you had to follow the hand. So she took me through a series of a specific event that where I found to be most challenging in my relationship. And I had this belief that I was not good enough and that my partner at the time was belittling me or patronizing me and making me feel very small. Whether that was true or not, or whether that was just my belief at the time, that's how I felt. So she would take me through a scenario and we would do this where I had to picture every single detail. What is happening? What's their demeanor? What am I feeling? And then we would talk about it. And then, okay, she's like, how would you show up differently? See where I'm going with this? So then I said, well, what I would like, what I desire in those situations so I could feel empowered is X, Y, and Z. So, okay, so this time we're going to walk through it. But this time, instead of you feeling small, the other person will shrink down. You're going to shrink them so small that you could tuck them into your pocket in your shirt. So you are no longer smaller. And then you're going to visualize what you will be doing in those situations. So instead of feeling small, insecure, walking on eggshells, and how was your day, honey? What do you need? I'm so sorry I didn't get that done. I was so busy with other things and trying to justify. I was like, how was your day? And if they're like, I was like, cool. And I would crank up the tunes. I'd be dancing in the kitchen. I'd be doing whatever I need, and I would have to justify what I did or didn't do that day. I was just me, and I was in my happy place. And if they wanted to join me, great. But if not, I would take them and put it in my pocket or put them in the cookie jar for another day. And I didn't believe that this would work. And whether this sort of like thing, I don't know if it's a hypnosis thing or just but it had to something to do with a reticular activating system. So when we practice that visualization over and over again, I no longer felt patronized or belittled. And even if those similar feelings, familiar feeling of that came up again, I was able to say, no, not this woman, not here today. I deserve better. Hey, you want to go be a grouchy pants? Go do that over there. Because, some people's energy expand and they take a lot of space. But it's up to us to say, this is my space. You ain't getting in here. This is my golden bubble. And you may take a lot of space by either shutting down, stonewalling is what they call, where they don't initiate conversation, eye contact, they kind of avoid you and you're like disappear from the world. But yet you know that they know you're there because they're like grumpy and they take a lot of space. That's stonewalling. And there's some people who are super critical. And there's some people who are um, really good at crazy making, gaslighting, making you feel crazy for believing or seeing something that they don't want you to recognize or see. There's a variety of them. And I'm going to be talking about this in my next module. I believe that's going to be lesson 3 or 4 in module 2. And recognizing how what certain things that come up in our relationships that is considered toxic. And the beautiful part about reading this book that I'm going to suggest to you, I don't have it here right in front of me, but the beautiful part about it is that, yes, you may be seeing those things in your partner, but you might start to see some of them that you do as well. It was a real slap in the face because I started to see the pattern of how I showed up in my relationship. And I was then able to take ownership. I owned it. And I said, what can I do differently next time when I hear myself saying this or doing this to anyone that matters, any loved ones, my partner, my kids? How can I show up differently so I don't pass on those patterns to my kids? It's because I want to break the dang cycle. And the interesting part is the things that I would do and I started to recognize were the things I absolutely abhor that my parents would do to me, or I would see my grandparents do to each other or to my parents. And I was like, OMG, I just repeated the things that I really dislike. And now I'm following that pattern. And then sometimes I catch my kids doing it to others. And I'm like, ouch, that is a hard bite to chew, right? So if we can stop this pattern early on and recognize it internally in ourselves, then everything else around you will shift. Because then you'll feel more confident to say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it to come out that way. That was not my intent. What I did mean in this situation is this. Or you could set a boundary. Hey, I see this is really important for you, and I would like to talk about this. But right now, I am just not in the right mindset. So, is there a different time we can continue this conversation? Later tonight, tomorrow morning, tomorrow after dinner? What is good for you? These things are so important. And it's not that you're unable to set boundaries or recognize your own needs. It's just we, over time, and I'm going to speak for myself here, and this may not be you. Over time, we try to people please, or we're trying to outperform someone, or we try to be the perfect mom or the perfect wife. And we try to make sure that everyone else's needs are cared for before our own. But what happens is that we forget ourselves in the process, because where in all of that does it leave room for us, our self-care, for our own check-ins and filling up our own cup? And it doesn't have to be consuming. It doesn't have to be hours of doing that. But you know what is self-care? Setting those healthy boundaries. Um, Giving yourself the time to go sit down, regardless if your checklist isn't done. Or before asking someone else, do you need something from me right now? Say, do you need something, Janelle? Or do you need something, Amber or Stephanie? Like, talk to yourself before you go and check in and make sure everyone else is okay. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're not okay, no one else will be okay. So, number one needs to be ourselves so we can continue to sustain the load that the world, our life, our family needs. Otherwise, we'll crumble at times when they need us the most and when we need to take care of ourselves. How we be able to scrape by at the bottom of the barrel for us or to try to take care of them when there is literally nothing left in our reserve, right? So to loop back to where we're seeing the shadow parts of ourselves. So anxiety, fear, anger, all those things, they're part of the process. So I want to remind you that it is okay to feel your feels. Like I was having a conversation with one of our members the other day. She's like, I recognize when I'm anxious and I'll start cleaning the house. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And I said, no, no. Like if your innate nature is saying, I need to move right now, allow it to move. Just recognize, hey, this is what's happening right now because of the situation. And I need to move my body. Go move your body. You probably will feel a little bit better, probably get some dopamine hit. But then ask yourself after, or tell it, make sure that you give yourself the space to reflect over what just happened there. Why did I feel the need after this situation to go clean my house, making sure it sparkled? Was the conversation that I was in that moment made me feel a certain way? Did it make you feel like you were not doing enough for the family, or that you're not a good mom, or that maybe you're really anxious about finances or something, you need to get that energy out? But like, what is the belief that's coming out that made you drive to go and clean? Because the cleaning part is a form of deflection to what we're actually feeling in that very moment. So if you're a stress cleaner, you need to ask yourself the question, why am I doing this right now? What is it that triggered me to think that this was a priority, opposed to sit down and reflect? And maybe it's the process of sitting down and reflect that you're trying to run from, right? And when we do this and we get the urge to start cleaning, we can ask ourselves again, what is it, because I actually want to clean right now? Or does something trigger me again? And what was it? And is it the same thing? This is something I need to revisit. This is where I need to have a plan for this. So these shadow parts of ourselves are not something to get rid of. They're there for us to support us during difficult times, to protect us. Our body is seeking safety. Our body is not trying to hurt us or go against us or make us in worse ways. It's all about safety. And when we do the dang thing of the self-reflection, then we feel better. We have a plan. And these patterns won't keep cycling through. And if they do, they're not as intense. They're not getting louder and louder and louder. And then we can bounce back to being the happy, joyful, full of creativity, deeply connected, intuitive self again, which is what is going to make us feel good. Those are the personalities, those are the traits of us that we want to feel. But if we don't listen to the shadow parts that keep popping up, then we won't get to hear, or we'll only see this very, very, very short glimpses of these moments. So I hope this gives you insight of what it means to feel the ick. And it's not there to hurt you, it's trying to protect you. And in order to feel the joy and all the things that you want, all those blessings and desires, is to listen closely to the ick of what it's trying to tell you. So I look forward to hearing your feedback on this coaching call. Today, I kept it short and sweet. Uh, so, and I was going to ask if anyone had any questions, but I know I popped on a really weird time. So that is okay. But you will have the recording there for you. And please share your insight. I'd love to hear from you. Okay, have yourselves a beautiful day. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks from now. And I'm really excited because I want to share one of the lessons that will be coming up soon. Or if you have a topic that you really want to discuss, let me know and we'll get right into it. Okay, bye for now.